The aspiration by the federal government of Nigeria to attain herd immunity for our population in the fight against COVID-19 has received significant boost with the delivery of over 4 million doses of the Moderna vaccine. Confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the country is gradually aiming for the 200,000 mark, with attendant casualty figures also rising, especially in the face of the Delta variant. How far-reaching the next phase of vaccination will be, amongst other issues, is our focus on this episode of Special Report. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jeffrey Uzonga. Nigeria received nearly 4 million doses of the COVID-19 vaccine shipped via the COVAX facility in March this year. COVAX shipped 3.94 million doses of the AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine manufactured by the Serum Institute of India from Mumbai to Abuja. The arrival marked a historic step towards the goal to ensure equitable distribution of COVID-19 vaccines globally. It was the largest vaccine procurement and supply operation in history.
Has adequate capacity to store these vaccines that we're receiving. We'll be able to store up to 20 million doses if we're to get them. But beyond the capacity that we have, we are working with our donors and development partners to build walk-in cold rooms that will again expand our capacity to store even more vaccines.
These vaccines are safe, they are very effective and efficacious, and that I would urge at the time of vaccination and deployment, if you fall into the category that will be vaccinated, make yourself available.
We are confident. We have so far supplied more than 36 million vaccine doses to nearly 36 countries. We are looking forward to supplying to at least 15 more. Nigeria is one of the first few countries in Africa to receive this. We have seen excellent results of both the Covishield vaccine as well as the second authorized vaccine in India, Covaxin. And we are confident that this will have excellent results as they have had in the rest of the world. We have also looked at and been informed about the initial priorities being drawn up by the PTF. Nigeria being Africa's largest democracy, India being the world's largest, by the way, has very robust systems for reaching the fruits of economic growth, of social growth, of health sector benefits to large sections of its needy population. I am confident that in partnership with the government of Nigeria, the vaccines made in India will reach all those who are in need and boost Nigerian health and economic growth.
Months later, over 4 million doses of Moderna vaccines arrived in Nigeria. The new Moderna vaccines are part of the United States' pledge to provide at least 25 million of the 18 million doses globally to Africa. Top government officials took delivery of the 4,080,000 doses of Moderna vaccines from the United States of America.
The regulatory authority in Nigeria, which is NAFDAC, has to certify that these vaccines meet our standards in Nigeria before the vaccines will be given to Nigerians. So far, NAFDAC has already taken samples, random samples of the vaccines. They'll be doing their testing, and we expect that within the next 48 hours, they'll be able to give us feedback as to whether we're good to go. Once NAFDAC says we're good to go, we've already laid out a very comprehensive logistic deployment plan, working with CACOVID, to make sure that these vaccines get to the subnational level as soon as possible. This is particularly important because we're already experiencing a third wave, and there's no need for the vaccines to be at national level while they are needed with our citizens. So we're going to be rolling out immediately after we get clearance from NAFDAC.
The Moderna vaccine has a maximum shelf life of 5 to 6 months and must be stored in a minus 20 degrees Celsius temperature.
First and foremost, the expectation in terms of storage conditions for the Moderna vaccines have been accommodated by the ultra-cold chain equipment. The ultra-cold chain equipment that we have can go as slow as minus 80 degrees Celsius. For the Moderna vaccine, what we require is between minus 50 degrees Celsius to as high as minus 15 degrees Celsius. Now, what is also special about the Moderna vaccine is that once it is taken from the ultra cold chain environment, it can still remain potent within the refrigerator environment of +2 to +8 degrees Celsius. You will recall that this +2 to +8 degrees Celsius environment is what is predominant all across Nigeria because we have the cold chain equipment that the federal government has invested in. So for up to 30 days, these Moderna vaccines can be kept within that temperature requirement so that as we deploy the vaccines from the states to the LGA and the health facilities, we know that within under 30 days, those vaccines have to be utilized. This is part of the communication that we're sending to the states so that there is an efficient way of making sure that we don't lose any vaccines.
Nigeria has a very well-established and very effective cold chain system that has been enhanced to meet the additional, especially ultra-cold chain system that's been fully checked, and as His Excellency the Executive Director for MPHCDA has said, that has been sent out to each of the states. So as soon as the vaccines are cleared, they will go straight to the states where there is enough capacity and enough storage to accommodate them for quick use. What we would say is that the quicker these are used, the better, because then the next round can come in and be used effectively as well.
But beyond the issue of storage and lifespan, officials also clarify concerns about the potency of this vaccine over the Delta variant, as well as whether or not the vaccine can be combined with the AstraZeneca.
So the adverse effect following immunization for the Moderna vaccine was quite low. Nigeria has a good monitoring system of AEFI. So the vaccine is highly effective, so moreover 94%. So the advice would be to continue to get vaccinated. The vaccine is quite good. And then the monitoring system will still be effective, will still be around just to monitor any adverse effect if there is any. For the Delta variants, what the data is showing us is that those vaccines are really effective against severe disease and also hospitalization. So we know that for the Delta variant, so we're good to go.
For those who have taken the first dose of AstraZeneca, we're expecting within the next week or so additional consignment of AstraZeneca vaccines that we will give as second doses. But even beyond the almost 700,000 doses that we're expecting in the next week or so, we expect that right around mid-August, we will get up to 3.9 million doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. So additional doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine will be coming to Nigeria, and we'll be able to cater for those people who have taken their first doses. We'll give them second doses, but beyond that, there will be additional opportunities for people to be given AstraZeneca vaccine if that is what their preference is. So we now have a large menu that Nigerians can choose from, whether it's AstraZeneca, Moderna, or the Pfizer, and then the J&J vaccines that will be coming subsequently.
The Director General of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Dr. Faisal Shuaib, explains that the vaccines will be deployed to various states across the country after due certification by the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC.
NAFDAC took samples of the COVID-19 vaccines to test for their integrity, their consistency with the global standard and what the Nigerian standard is, and to ensure that it is in line with the product information that has been provided by the US government and Moderna. NAFDAC has now come back to tell us that they have approved the Moderna vaccine for use in Nigeria. So media reports that seem to suggest that we are delaying the rollout of the vaccines due to problems with documentation of the vaccine is not correct. On the contrary, the reason why we've had to extend or postpone the launch date of the vaccine is because we want to institute once again, in conjunction with NAFDAC, the track and trace all the way to the health facility where the vaccines will be administered. This means that we are locally creating labels for the vaccines, barcodes that will ensure that this tracking and tracing continues just like we did in the first phase. Consequently, we want to call on all Nigerians to remain assured that the vaccines that we have are safe and they are effective, and we're going to deploy them next week, as we have earlier communicated, that we will do the flag off and the rollout of the second phase of the COVID-19 vaccination program on August the 16th, 2021.
At the flag-off of the over 4 million doses on the 10th of August, the federal government says it is set to officially begin the administration of the second batch of the COVID-19 Moderna vaccine donated by the United States to enable the continuation of the exercise across the Federation anytime this month.
Well prepared to roll out the second phase of the vaccination plan. We are very clear in our minds about the challenges ahead, especially with the different brands of the COVID-19 vaccines that we'll be receiving. We are aware that Nigerians would want to know if there is a preferred brand. Let me assure everyone that COVID-19 vaccines, regardless of brand, as long as they've been approved by NAFDAC, have the same safety, the same effectiveness all across the brands. About 40,739 health workers all across the national, state, and world levels on our Phase 2 strategic vaccine rollout plan, with focus will be on how to improve delivery, communication, management of our vaccines, and the logistics that goes together with this management. A total of 3,363 teams will be used, with 2,690 teams manning the fixed post, that is the posts that are based in the health facilities, and 673 temporary fixed posts, which will go from settlement to settlement, especially around those areas where we expect people to congregate, for example, the houses of the traditional leader, the markets, motor parks. Well, we are hopeful.
If we go for early relaxation of measures, we are only allowing the virus to multiply, mutate, and create new variants. What's happening now in the world is driven by the variant, the Delta variant. In certain parts of the world, 90% of infection, of new cases, are from the Delta variant. It's very transmissible. It seems to be very aggressive. However, all the vaccines that have been approved under the emergency use list by WHO are still effective in terms of preventing severe disease, hospitalization, and death. Therefore, there's a need to, at the same time, maintain the non-pharmaceutical intervention and also scale up the vaccination as a way to curtail the third wave.
The federal government officially ended the first phase of COVID-19 vaccination exercise weeks ago after the country exhausted the 4 million doses of AstraZeneca it received from the COVAX facility in March this year. On August the 12th, 2021, officials of the Federal Ministry of Health and their counterparts in the sector received the first tranche of the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine, totaling 177,600,000 doses.
Johnson & Johnson vaccine doses for Nigeria. We would also like to appreciate the government, federal government of Nigeria, through the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency Executive Director, for the collaboration with Afreximbank and our partners, AVAT, to protect Nigerians and Nigerian people against this COVID-19. So we thank you very much for your presence, and we look forward to a fruitful event today at this cold store.
The shipment forms part of the 29.8 million doses of Johnson & Johnson vaccine procured by the federal government through the African Vaccine Acquisition Trust.
We're only going to prioritize those communities that are hard to reach, those populations that we want to reach once, because it might be difficult to catch them a second time. Then Rachel from East Agency of Nigeria asked about how we'll ensure that there is no wastage and that the vaccines are still potent by the time we administer them. So all of this is around training, right? And this is why we're going through a very rigorous process of training the health workers on the handling of the vaccine. And we're also very confident about our cold chain storage, right? All across from the national to the point of administration, we maintain the requisite temperatures that will ensure that these vaccines are potent. Then in terms of tackling hesitancy, irrespective of the group that you are addressing, is got to be with providing the right information about vaccines and vaccinations, and that is something that we'll continue to do. Even with some of the health workers who may not have the correct information about vaccines, we're also targeting them. Again, health workers have different specialties, right? There are people whose specialty is public health. These are the people that have knowledge about vaccines and vaccinations, about epidemics. If you're a clinician, you may not be as exposed to the sort of nitty-gritty, some of the details, right? Not everybody is a vaccinologist. And sometimes when you expose yourself to a lot of disinformation on social media, it's easy to get confused. So it is very important that we continue to engage all manner of the population to ensure that people have the correct information. Then you asked about the modality for sharing the Johnson & Johnson. I mean, we have already identified those populations that will benefit from the Johnson & Johnson. But in the end, while we are prioritizing hard-to-reach population, elderly populations, eventually, we're going to open this up to the general population, because we have more than enough that will cover some of these populations that we are prioritizing.
The WHO country representative described the vaccine as a game changer for Nigeria as the country battles a third wave of the virus.
Another landmark event in Nigeria's response to COVID-19 pandemic. Of note, Nigerian response to COVID-19 pandemic has been widely acclaimed by many as one of the most successful so far in the world. WHO had on many occasions commended the government of Nigeria, particularly the Presidential Assistance Committee on COVID-19, on the successful completion on the first phase of the COVID-19 vaccination rollout. Nigeria preparation for the second phase of COVID-19 vaccination, involving more resources and logistics, is highly commendable. And yet again, this is an occasion to recognize and to applaud Nigeria. Without proper preparation, we wouldn't be able to receive this Johnson & Johnson vaccine today.
Officials of UNICEF and the African Center for Disease Control explains the rationale for choosing the Johnson & Johnson vaccine and encourage citizens to get vaccinated.
UNICEF is providing logistical and delivery services to member states. Shipment for a total of 6.4 million doses began in August 2021 and will arrive in several member countries. This vaccine acquisition is a unique milestone for African continent and it is the first time Africa has undertaken a procurement of this magnitude involving all member states. It also marks the first time that the African Union member states have collectively purchased vaccines to safeguard the health of African population.
It's to say to all people in Nigeria. Last week we received the Moderna vaccines, today the Johnson & Johnson vaccines. Next week we will receive more AstraZeneca vaccines. They are coming in on a regular basis. This is the time to step up and get vaccinated, to take your responsibility. Whether you're an individual, whether you're a religious leader, a traditional leader, or a governor, is to encourage all your people to take the vaccines as quickly and as timely as is possible in an orderly fashion. The vaccines are coming in, and we must do up.
As I always mention at different fora, vaccines are a critical tool in the battle against COVID-19. These vaccines are safe and effective and will be the game changer. But for the foreseeable future, we must continue wearing masks, physically distance, and avoid crowd. The Johnson & Johnson Janssen vaccine we have today was listed for emergency use by WHO on the 12th of March. The vaccine has been authorized for use in many countries, including in Europe, in the United States, and others. As the only single-dose vaccine approved for emergency use to date, the vaccine may be an important tool for accessing hard-to-reach populations, thus playing a key role in preventing infection and reducing deaths across Nigeria. Let me seize this opportunity to say that this pandemic still has a long way to run. Nigeria is already experiencing a third wave, and we need to work together to ensure that all preventive measures put in place are maximized to reduce the impact of COVID-19 on our lives. And vaccination is one of these tools that we need to scale up to ensure that the entire population is protected until such time that we reach herd immunity.
Now, the fight against the deadly virus cannot be won in isolation, and that's the truth. So all hands must be on deck to ensure our lives eventually returns to normal. And that's it on the program. Thanks for your time, and of course, your usual company. I'm Jeffrey Uzonga.